So today's plan is to continue on with the replacement of the validation pipeline. Now, to do that, I need to add, as you can see in this diff window, the transient reference to each type of request validator. But the thing is, I don't want to have to put this in, and I don't want to implement type assembly scanning myself, because there's going to be many extension methods doing it for different things, and it's not going to be very efficient. So instead, what I'm going to do is replace the standard container with a StructureMap, which is something I've been muttering about doing since starting this. So the first thing I'm going to do is check out a new branch, which is going to have my current work in progress on it, which is this startup and validation. So we'll just call this validation pipeline, pipeline. Use my save extension method, or save alias, which just commits everything with the message of save point, and then switch back to master. Right, so this should now undo. So what we're going to do is, wow, that's a special layout there. Yep, we're going to add the StructureMap dependency injection package to the REST project. And while that downloads the internet, right, no, not quite done yet. Right, now that that's done, I looked up earlier how to actually do this. So what we do is we create a new instance of the container. None of those are the right thing. So let's do that. StructureMap container, there we go. So we have our configuration for StructureMap in here, and the first thing we do is do container dot, no, not container, underscore populate services. So this will fill the container with everything that is already configured above, so mediatr and MVC. We could technically put mediatr now inside StructureMap, but for the time being I'm going to leave it here, because it might be doing other things as well. So we populate the container, and now we put any custom registrations we want in. So what I'm going to do is do scan a not assembly containing type. Now I've heard that doing just the calling assembly is slightly broken under .NET Core 2. I don't know if it still is or not, but for ease of avoiding an error, I shall instead just use a type that is in the domain project to reference. So we'll do assembly containing type toggle, because that's not likely to leave the domain, and we'll call the with default conventions extension method. This extension method means that whenever, say, an I toggle is requested from the container, it will return a toggle class. So it's just finding an instance that's named the same without the letter I and implements the interface. We're also going to explicitly register a few things, which is not done inside the scan method. So our explicit registrations are our store. So we create the store above, and then down here we say for iStore or iStorage, use store, which effectively is making that a singleton. So is this an over-the-wire feature toggling? I install app made by dev. App contacts devs servers, and depending on the reply, some features get toggled on or off. Yes. So in a, I don't know, if you looked at it as an internal company structure, you might have an instance of this running on a server somewhere, and then a bunch of services that you supply to customers, and those services might have different features enabled for different customers based on this toggling service. So those end services would be querying this either through caches or as requests come in for whether a toggle should be on or off. Right, and we'll register that as well. So we don't need to make this a singleton, but because by using a specific instant variable, it already is a singleton. I don't have any security layer on top yet. I did have an attempt at it several streams ago, but things went badly. I couldn't use the inbuilt identity provider without setting up entity framework or using entity framework in memory databases, and I couldn't use identity server because that was broken for .NET Core 2 at the time. So I do intend to put authentication onto this, but I haven't got to there yet. I thought it would be more fun to play with functionality and things that actually work rather than banging my head against somewhat broken implementations of security. So we want to register our pipelines, so let's do for type of iPipelineBehavior. I think this is the right way of registering it, I can't quite remember. Use, can I just give it a type? Yes. Type of timing behavior. I'm not certain that's right, to be honest, but we shall muddle through. Now, to make aspnetcore use this, we actually just change the signature of this method to be an iService provider, and then down here we just say return container.getInstance iService provider. No, not a service collection, a service provider. Now that we've done that, MVC should use this and everything should just work as it did before. So I guess we'll run it and see what happens. Yeah, that should be fine. Right, well it starts at least, that's a plus. So let's use the REST tester, and we shall make a GET request to toggles. Right, which came back with response code 200 OK, and nothing. So now if you make a post request with a test optional, we should create a toggle. Response body is empty, response code 201 created, and we got a header back with the location. So if we copy that and put that in there, and then do a get to that, yeah, then we get our individual toggle back as well. And I suppose if we just delete all that, we should get it back in the array as well. Yep, good. So that all works, so that's our first commit. So let's do this. Let's just diff, oh, bad white space. Oh, and apparently this is still using spaces rather than tabs. So now the whole file's been edited. Oh well. What we can do for that is go diff tool cached. That's a package reference. And now we can actually see what the changes are. Apparently an extra bracket has moved. Okay, that was formatting the document. Right, that's fine. Right, so git cm rest replace inbuilt IOC with StructureMap. Now, we don't want to leave this here. That's not very nice. We actually want to put this in its own place. So we've got two ways of doing this. Because of this populate services call here, we can either create a registry with this block in it, and then do here, like this, add registry, Crispin, rest registry. Or you can put the whole thing in and just create a new container by doing var container equals new container, and either passing in the type, or you can create an instance and then we'd be able to pass the services in like that. I think I'm going to do it this way around because that leaves it explicit that the services are being handled outside the registry. So we shall take this part, cut that out of the way, create a new class, inherit registry, and then in the constructor just do that. And we just need to remove the scan, the underscore, sorry. And we should also grab our store. And put that here. But I think we'll actually put that in its own method. Build storage. Yep, good. I'm happy with that. So this now goes into its own file. And our startup is now much smaller again. We just have that. And I am still tempted to move mediatr down to here so that it can make use of StructureMap's type scanning rather than having to rescan everything itself. But one change at a time. Let's run that. And use the REST client. So we'll do a get to toggles, which comes back empty. And now we'll do a post with our standard test data. Again, comes back empty, but with a response header. So if we first do a get to toggles, we get an array with the relevant data. And then if we do a get to the specific ID, we get that back. And I suppose we can just prove that name works as well. So we'll do name slash test, and that gets the same thing back as well. So let's add that. Structure map extract registry. Right, now we've done that, let's see about setting up mediatr using StructureMap. So what I want to know is if there's a... Wow, that UI is properly broken now. Right, well, mediatr. So there's extensions for various things. There's that, which is ancient. Let's see, autofac, mediator, extension, log for inject, simple injector. No, okay. Let's go and have a quick look at their webpage. Mediator StructureMap. Ah, it's even in the master readme. That'll do. Right, we've done that bit. Done that bit. No, we haven't. So we add in that. So this we shall do as another registry. Add registry. Mediator registry. Registry. And again in its constructor we will now do this. Scan A. Brackets. And add that. Oh. Alt tab fail. So this is automatically going to find all of our decorators. That's good. And then we'll do the same for the pipeline. Let's move this into its own file before I start doing imports. Right. Let's do that. This is now, just replace that with nothing. Not sure we need those. I'll comment those out for the time being. And then we can hook up that. I haven't actually set up mediator itself. I guess it can be an instance then rather than a singleton. For text writer, use console out. No. Right, so we can now go back up here. We shall remove that. And with luck, everything will still work. Well, it builds, that's always a plus. So, as usual, let's do a get to the root. Oh, we get an exception this time. Unable to resolve service of type mediator. Right, or trying to activate. Why is it trying to use that? It should be using our service. That's because it's using the controller activator. Now, we can either add mediator explicitly. Well, that's interesting. It would indicate that we're not using the container to build the controls. because otherwise we'd be able to actually resolve the mediator out of here. But this is where we can now use StructureMap's diagnostics. So we'll say, what do I have? And what we shall do with that is just do console.writeLine. This will print us out a large amount of debug information, which will tell us what exactly is registered in the container. Quite a lot of stuff, apparently. Why can I not select all on this? Wow, that's outstandingly not helpful. You can't even select like that. That works though. Copy. Let's put it in Atom. Don't save. Can you not word wrap? That would be nice. Clearly not. Right, let's have a look. I mediate. Well, that would explain that. There's no mediator in there. So instead of that, we'll do what did I scan? We added mediator. Ah, a dot with default conditions. That would probably help. And come to think about it, we'll also want assembly containing type toggle, because we're going to want the handlers which are inside that assembly as well. So we'll do that, and we'll restart. Right, so we used our Crispin REST registry scanner, scan the Crispin assembly, and use the default names and conventions. The mediator registry scanner scanned Crispin and mediator, and used the default convention and connected requests and replies, notifications, and all this other junk. No errors were had. And now we actually get response codes. There we go. So let's just check that creation still works. Which it does. And we'll take that. We'll do a get to our root. That still works. And that works. Good. Stop that, move that away. And we'll just delete these bits that we're not using for the time being. Might use them later. Do I need anything else? No. Although we will need to put our behavior in here. We found one or more settings that might affect battery life. Considering you're plugged in, I really don't care. So this is our timing behavior. Let's actually just do that to start with. We'll just commit this change. Oh, we can also get rid of a package as well. If I could actually manage to use this UI. So we can remove that package because we're no longer using it. Why does restoring packages take so long when you've removed a package? Can't take that long to delete a file, can it? Yep, remove the package. Alright, so let's see, mediatr, move to StructureMap setup. Right, now that we have that back in place, we can now check out our other branch, rebase it on master, fix the merge commit, which will be because we've modified the startup file. So we're going to do that, that, oh, we shouldn't have that line in place. So let's do this. Git rebase abort, or not aborty, abort. Git checkout master, and this is a handy shortcut for checking out a branch. If you use git checkout space dash, that'll check out the branch you previously had checked out. So let's get rid of those. Let's go back into here and into our startup file and remove that and that. Don't like committing commented out code. So we'll add that and we'll cheat and just amend it into the previous commit. Now we'll go back to our pipeline branch, git rebase master, merge tool, right, use that for everything, and in our case we are going to copy this. Check nothing else has gone awry, do that. Rebase, continue. Now we will check out master, git merge validation pipeline, branch delete validation pipeline, and then we'll do git undo, which is one of my aliases. So now this has put all of the last changes back into my working directory. And we will just git clean f star.rig. There we go. Right, so now we can go back to this. And we'll go back into our mediatr repository, which is where we want to do the equivalent of these calls. Now, I'm going to try and avoid doing that, but we're going to do this for type of that, for type of that, add I need a extra bracket. There we go. I'll put those in here. validationBehavior. Yeah, well, it's there. Maybe it's just missing an import. Yep, missing an import. Right. Now, as I don't want to register all of these, I think what we'll do is here do a.connect implementations to types closing. and something will steal focus just as I'm typing. I hate that. Let's get rid of that window on the side. Connect implementations. Type of request validator. Now with luck, because this will connect to implementations, whenever a request validator of, say, create toggle request is requested, it'll just return the create toggle validator, so we won't have to specify each one. With luck. And how do we test this? Yes, we try and create an instance of a toggle without specifying a name, and then check that the error message we get back is from the validation middleware rather than from the base class. What is your problem? Type or namespace validation does not exist. Okay, but I mean, it does. Maybe if you compiled the right assembly, that would help. It's definitely there. Can definitely see that. Advanced build actions, rebuild selected project. Right. Build. This time you work. Maybe. Yep, fine. Right, so let's run that. And again, we'll use this REST client. So this time we're going to try and create a toggle without a name, which should net us an error. And if we're lucky, the error will come from the validation middleware rather than the base class. Or rather than the aggregate, sorry. So we did get an error, as expected. Validation exception. Excellent. So that also proves that our validation, that the container will find all of our validators for us. So we'll just, ow, electric shocks from my blasted laptop. If I touch the radiator, I get electric shocks. That's pleasant. I wonder if that means the laptop is bad, or the radiator is bad, or I am bad. It's a shame because I want to put my feet up on something, and the only thing I can rest them on is the radiator. Right, it looked like we were missing a blank line at the end of those files. Just double check. No, that one's fine. That one's fine. That one's fine. Okay, I'm just seeing things then. Validation. Add auto magic validation. Except I've just realized something's wrong because this create toggle validator shouldn't be here. This needs to be in its own class. And the file needs to be here. We'll just fix its namespace. Build everything again. So we have a single namespace that contains the request, response, the validator for the request, and the handler itself. And as that was something I meant to commit in the last one, we'll cheat again. and just amend it into the previous commit. Right, now that we have validation working for our handlers, what I think would be a good idea to do is implement an MVC decorator so that we actually get nice error messages. Because if we look at this response here, not only do we get a gigantic stack trace, but we actually get a 500 internal server error back from this. And I don't want an internal server error when you fail validation. What I want is a 400 bad request. I think that's the best thing to return anyway. So we're going to have a bash implementing middleware, which I'm not entirely certain how to do. Right, let's have a quick Google. aspnetcore middleware. Apparently I've looked at doing this before. Right, I don't want to put it in like that, or like that. I want a separate class. No. Writing middleware, there we go. No. There we go. So next comes through the constructor. Interesting. Right, fine. So let's just do it in. Yeah, let's just put it here for the time being. So we'll do public class validation middleware. And it didn't need to inherit anything, but it needed a request delegate through the constructor. So let's add one of those, request delegate. Oh, it does actually exist, good. It was called next. Let's implement a field called that. And then we need a single method, public task invoke. Give that an HTTP context. Public task invoke. Probably make this async. Context. Right. So theoretically, if I do return next context, that does nothing, hopefully. What is your problem? Okay. I mean, I've been using tasks elsewhere, but suddenly I need a different task reference. I guess it's because of this. I wonder if it builds and if it's just Rider being a bit silly. Okay, that might blow up at runtime. Right, how do we add this in without writing an extension method? Use middleware. Okay. Before or after MVC? Before, I guess. Validation middleware. Which is not going to do anything, but I'm just going to send a request through it, and hopefully the request will come through. If it doesn't, we get an exception, it's probably down to this task reference here. Right, let's send a REST request. Get is fine, I think. Boom. Right, let's see what the problem is. Ah, yes, alright. We need to make that an optional dependency. Whoops. The plus side to switching out to StructureMap is that we can actually write tests for this in a minute. Now, how to make that optional? StructureMap optional constructor parameter. Basically, I want to use try get instance rather than get instance, but I don't know how to make that happen without modifying stuff. I think if we Google that, if I just randomly indent it repeatedly, that'll help. The other option is we want to mark this validation behavior should only apply when something exists in the container, but I have no idea how to manage that. Do this. Okay, so note here. I wonder if we can, let's write a test. I think that'll be easier than me just messing about randomly trying to get things to work. What did I do here? Start my validator. Okay, can ignore that. It compiles at least. So this is testing the REST API's tests, so we'll put that here. And although we're going to test both of these together, the test I'm actually going to create is container tests. Now this will do basically the same as our startup, in that that will be run. The only difference is I'm not going to register the services. Now, has that added the reference correctly? I expected that to try and add a reference to StructureMap. Because, you know, it should have one. So if we do this for the solution, oh, that's interesting. Does it not include StructureMap directly because I've only referenced that package? That's interesting. StructureMap. Right, add that to REST. Yes. Oh, and I can't add it to that yet. Gotta wait for the first one to finish. I like that. Installing structure, because I was very unstructured beforehand. Next thing I'll be doing is installing control and then installing the ability to pay attention in meetings. That's never going to happen. I got one of those fidget toys for meetings so that I could try and, you know, just fidget with that rather than doodling or start developing stuff. But I broke it, kind of. this taking so long? Right, let's ignore the packages. I'm sure they'll do their own thing in the background. So what we'll do is put that into a variable. And then write a test, it all. Fact. So I'm going to test that we can resolve a validator, and also test that we can resolve do that via mediator, or what happens when we resolve a validator that doesn't exist. A validator. So for this we can just say container.getInstance, and this is the create request, create toggle handler. Is that right? No. Let's create the validation behavior for a create toggle request, create toggle response. Our validator equals that. In fact, we don't need to do that, we just need to do this and just say should not be null. StructureMap will throw exceptions if we try and resolve things that don't exist anyway. Let's test that works, I think. .NET test source crispin.rest.tests crispin.rest tests. So this should give us 18 tests, I think. Or 17 yesterday anyway. So. And it can't run the tests because this is still running and blocking assembly loading. Try that again. And now there are 400 copies of .NET still running in the background. See? Oh, one of them's actually picked up that it can do something, I think. How many of those are running? Oh, only 5. And 4 million errors. That's interesting. So that's the toggles controller test blowing up. That's nice. So here we shall do this, and we'll now write a test that actually asserts on the behavior we were after. When resolving a validator which doesn't exist. Which is the same as that, but we will use our get all toggles request and our get all toggles response. Now that should blow up, so should throw an exception. Not quite sure what exception. Let's see what we got from this. What kind of message exception? StructureMap configuration exception? Probably not. And let's do that. And that. Right, let's rerun those. expecting to see 2 failures because of that one. Oh no, yeah, that shouldn't fail because we are expecting an exception. Now, when we have a type that is requesting this, we actually need to test the mediation pipeline, I think. So let's say mediator equals container.getInstance iMediator, and then mediator.publish, send, one of those. Send, that's the one with a response. So this is a new get all toggles request. Our response equals that. And as we have a store configured in here which is in memory already, this should work. Well, no, it should blow up because because we don't have the validator fixed yet. Should be instance, should be of type of. Ah, no, can't, need to await it. Var response equals await mediator. Which means we need one of those. And now we can say a response should be of. My IntelliType is just broken completely now. Should be of type. I think that was what the method was called. Get all toggles response. Yep, apparently it is. Now, that should blow up when we run the tests. And then we just need to figure out how to make it not blow up. Now the easy way to do it, so I'm not sure if I can do it through the container or not, would be to go into the validator and rather than taking in an instance of a validator which doesn't exist, so we've got two options that I can think of. We can either, in here, rather than take in the relevant validator, we can take in an instance of iContainer and then just try and resolve the validator ourselves here and do a try get instance, and if the instance comes null, just return. Which works, but I don't like taking dependencies on the container. At least not in anywhere other than the startup method. The other option I can think of is to modify our setup for the registry to have a default value for this. And I'm not sure if that would work. Can I just do a dot def? No. Does this take any extra arguments? Perhaps, but IntelliType is not being particularly helpful. Open generic type. No. So what I was thinking of is having, if we go to the iRequest validator, we'd have a public class default or null request validator of t, which would implement iRequest validator of t. and return array dot emp. Come on. Array dot empty string. Now, as we have default conventions, we might not have to do anything. That might just work by just existing. I'm not certain, but it might. And if not, I think we can register it in, like, directly, the explicit registration, which might work as a fallback. Nope. Right, so let's try registering it directly. We'll do down here for request. Now we'll have to do for type of I request validator. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. I can't add one as an overload. I think for the time being, I'm just going to do the method I didn't want to do and change the validation behavior to take in an instance of the container to start with. I shall ask on a mailing list about doing this how I prefer to do it, see what the response is. So we take an iContainer in. Got a reference structure map now. Didn't want to do that. Wonder if I could take in a func. That might work. So I know StructureMap can automatically register functions. So if I did that, would that delay the execution of that bit? And then I could wrap it in a try-catch, which would be a hell of a hack, but yeah, let's try it. Change value of the field. So we'll say var validate. It's best to write this. Catch all exceptions. This is horrible. We'll just do this. Take that. Oh, we need to throw a validation exception. Okay, I'll take that bit. Do that. We'll say let's copy that. One of these, validator equals null. Validator equals underscore validator executed. Not going to catch the exception, or we're not going to do anything useful with the exception, and then we'll just do that. And I suppose technically it could be null. Yeah, let's see what happens when we run those tests. Not good things, I'm suspecting. Value cannot be null. Go away. There we are. Okay, no, I don't care about that. Oh. No. Automatic determined for iLogger. Ah, fuckers, that comes from the service. Right. So our container setup needs to change slightly. So underscore dot I wonder if we can use and substitute for type of iLogger like that. Dot use substitute missing a T. I know I just can't type it, right? That's fine. Use iLogger. I need the type. Which I can get from here. Types to proxy. How do I do that without connecting a generic method? I don't want to connect a generic method. Arse. I mean, we've got the requested type. Let's see. Oh, I know what we can do. Private class fake logger of t. That can implement iLogger of t. Implement missing members. Oh good, there's only a few. And rather than throwing exceptions, they're just going to do nothing. Is enabled. Return true? Sure, why not? Return. You want something iDisposable. Substitute for iDisposable. There we are. That'll be great. Use type of fake logger. Well, that might work. One of my friends is journeying in through learning Linux system administration from a Windows sysadmin background. I keep getting texts about him complaining about permissions and then things that work and how do I exit Vim. Right, what's this one's problem? Value cannot be null. Alright, that's fine. Have a null value, see if I can. Is it now? Let me get an actual error somewhere. Oh, I know that comp. Some source enumerable couldn't be null, but what source enumerable? No idea. Possibly in the validation behavior line 29. Oh, so clearly this might work, because that's returning null. So if we do this and say if validator double equals null, no, if it's not null, they really need to work on async stack traces. So horrible. You know what, I'm going to write to the console here. No instance for request validator. Do that. And this is type of t request dot name. Right, that'll do. 17th times job. I see, if I had the next early access of Rider, which I don't because it's not out yet, I'd be able to run just the individual test. That would be quicker than running all of them in this assembly. Ooh, it works. So apparently taking a funkin doesn't cause that. No instance. No instance. Yeah, that's a truly horrible way of doing it, but that'll do for now. On error, resume next. VB lives on. Yes, that's marginally horrible. I don't like that in the slightest. I wonder if you made it nullable, if that would work. Can you do that? Can you make something nullable in the middle? Non-nullable value type could be underlying of nullable. Right, okay. Good. Good for you. Right, what were we testing beforehand? Oh yeah, if that worked because of other errors. Right, back to testing those. And all that thinking about building, let's get the REST test client open. Right, good, it runs. Does a GET request work? It does. Which means it came through my middleware, despite the error about the relevant version of net standard not being targeted. Let's try a post request. Right, this should give us a validation error. Well, it will give us 500 at the moment, because we haven't implemented our validation middleware. Where is it? Yeah, so we got a validation exception. So that's what we're going to fix. So let's first commit the tests that we just wrote. And what else did we do? Many things. Well, I changed iRequest validator. Oh yes, I need to check out that one. So if we do git diff source Crispin infra validation iRequest validator, yeah, we don't need that file to exist anymore, or not to be changed rather. And we can add this one. Let's just replace that before I accidentally undo what I've just written in there. I mean, despite it being horrible, I still actually want it to be there. Right, what else do we have left? A direct reference to StructureMap. Which to the REST project. Okay, that's allowable. Although questionable. And validation middleware was added. So let's add the CS proj. Diff our changes. StructureMap added to REST and REST tests. Validation behavior. American spelling. Behavior. Make optional validation. No, make validation optional. Hack. Oh, blasted bash. Oh, no, I can't get that message. And as I want to put that in there, what I shall do instead is do git commit and just edit it in Vim myself, if I can remember how to paste. Oh, I can't remember how to paste into Vim. Shift insert. Nope. Git bash paste in Vim. So I have a vague feeling you can now right click to paste into git bash. I disagree. Insert mode. Definitely insertable text. Insert. No, that. Or the insert key. No, that doesn't work. No. Oh, that does work. That's not the shortcut key I meant to hit. Oh, now I've truly broken things. Wow, right, let's just shut. Vim. I did read an article ages ago about someone who reckoned that the best source of entropy for random number generators was searching GitHub for commit messages where it was developers trying to exit Vim in the commit message. So it was just full of, you know, like Control-C and esc and quit and other things as they desperately try and exit Vim. Right, so bad things happen if I do that. Wow. Right, third time's a charm. I'll specify the message myself. For projects, Crispin. Oh. Git cm insert. I'll put an escape character in front of that. Delete that. Right, there we go. Git show head. Where's that commit message? Yeah, that'll do. Whatever. Or I suppose I could do git commit amend. That's special. I rather suspect that there's a fairly broken commit. Git undo. This is going well. Let's just add everything and reset the ones I don't want. Git reset head source crispin.rest startup. And there was something else. Not that. Mediator registry. Reset head source crispin.rest mediator registry. Right, now if we do this, alright, fuck it. Right, I'm just gonna forget that I'm looking at that. Right, on to fun things. Now we know how to make our validation middleware. This middleware should be fairly easy to write, in that all we need to do is wrap this in a try catch and catch our validation exception. So we do that in there. And here we need to actually change the content. So we'll do e.response. Can I not? No, not e. Context. Response. Now, what we want to do is write a new body. Is there a way you're supposed to do this before I go and hack things around? Let's have a look at one of the other ones. This is all doing stuff that doesn't touch the response. Can I do that, I wonder? Can you do a wait inside a try catch? Response dot write async. And for the time being, I'm just going to display it, oh no's, and error. And then we shall do context.response.status code equals an integer version of HTTP status bad request. Or maybe we'll do that first. Don't know. Right, so we're using our middleware at least. So let's run that. And while that's thinking about running, I'm going to attempt to get my Git bash working again. Dev projects. We don't need that. Crispin rest mediator registry. Right, so that's up and running. Let's use the rest tester. That should still work. It didn't. Oh no, that is right. If we do a get, that should still work. It does. If we try and post to the toggles with text that only has the optional value and not the required one, we now get oh no's an error, 400 bad request, and no gigantic horrible stack trace. So now what we want to do in here is actually write something useful, like a validation error message and some JSON. Now write async is all very well, but can I how you're supposed to do this, because dropping down to the level of doing write async and then putting some JSON here and setting the right headers seems like the wrong way to be doing this. It feels like there should be a way to do this at a slightly higher level than messing around with the HTTP context. Oh well, we'll do that for now. So we are going to have a JSON body. So we'll just do JSON convert serialize object new. Do that, and in here we shall say exception equals ex. So e dot do get type dot name. No, not namespace, name. I think there is a middleware that does this already, or something similar. I think it's the exceptional middleware, maybe. And we'll put a messages property in, which will just be equal to e.messages. And we'll also do context.response.content type equals application JSON. This can't be the right way of doing it, can it? Right, let's rerun that. Back to the rest tester. Can always come back and refactor it. Or go and have a look at the source for the exceptional middleware. So see, assuming exceptional middleware exists, and I haven't just imagined it, go back and check what that source does for this. See how they're doing it. Exception, validation exception, messages, the name of the property must be filled with. The name property must be filled with. Great, that'll do for our first stab at validation middleware. Let's just stop that running. So let's not do that. Move to its own class. Because amongst other things, I'm just using this JSON converter. I'm not pulling the right serializer out of the services. I think I could take a dependency on a service from ASP.NET to do this, but either way we shall do directory infrastruct. Always need an infrastructure namespace. One of the developers at work the other day said that they could tell what code I'd written. It's always inside the infrastructure namespace. It tells you about what kind of code I like writing. Right, let's have a look at our changes. So we have middleware, and we've included the middleware. Yeah, seems reasonable. So rest add validation middleware to render validation exceptions as bad request. Right, let's push these commits, see how bad that commit message is on GitHub. That can go away. Commits. And it appears, doesn't seem too broken. Oh well. Right, that was everything I wanted to get done this evening. Replacing the dependency container with StructureMap and writing the validation middleware. Got a little bit stuck on some of those errors that I didn't expect to have, but hey, that's development. I think tomorrow we'll go on to adding more validators for our post methods and start implementing more post methods as well. No, comrade, I am not hacking the Pentagon. It's nice to hear from you again, and I know exactly who that is. Yes. So we're on tomorrow, we'll have a bash at writing some more of the right methods. Yeah, fun times. So thanks everyone for watching, and if you've got any questions, feel free to shoot me messages on Twitter. It's twitter.com/ponderdom, and everything's on GitHub as usual. So yeah, have a good evening, everyone.